So today I want to talk about something really exciting, and that is insurance. I really want to talk about insurance mainly because it's not a sexy topic.
Boo this man!
It's not something that you really think about a lot, especially for artists and creatives. As you grow as an artist, as you grow with the projects that you do and the artwork that you do, and you scale up and get into new mediums and, work with other people or have other people work for you, you're going to have to start thinking about insurance. Not every artist will sort of run into that question just yet. I know artists like tattoo artists or hairstylists, you'll run into that a lot more than other artists. Or if you're doing sculpture work versus someone who, will do a lot more just digital work and sort of send it off remotely to a client. And I especially want to talk about insurance, mainly after Astro World. That situation is a lot larger and, we're not into sort of like the big concert, but, artists can have sculptures fall on someone or, damage property. And we have to think about insurance mainly because insurance really protects us from those accidents or unforeseen situations that we overlook, mainly because we're not sort of, doing a job expecting, the worst to happen, but sometimes it happens and we have to figure out a way to sort of make someone whole if we injure them or damage property. So in this video, I'm just going to talk about the standard insurance that I have and, where I go and basically where you can go and like what I have for each client to show them that I have insurance, things like that. And hopefully this will help you out. So the insurance that I have is general liability insurance, and that is something that is really standard. You'll see that a lot, especially when you start doing jobs or work for the city or really large clients or organizations, companies, things like that, or you're working on construction sites, you'll be asked to have general liability insurance. And general liability insurance deals with claims that have like third-party bodily injury or third-party property damage from like the products and services that you provide. If a ladder slips and sort of breaks a window, it deals with that. Or, you have paint and you spill it and someone slips and breaks their arm, it deals with that right there. It also deals with like reputation and injury there or copyright infringement. So it does do a lot more than just property and sort of bodily harm. And every project that I do, I have to have a COI. And COI is basically a certificate of insurance. And that basically just gives proof to the client that I have the type of insurance that they need. So let's take a look at that. So this is the certificate of insurance. This is pretty much standard. It looks pretty much the same. Like the top left, you will have the producer, basically who's providing the insurance, and then the insured, which will be the artist, you. And then in the middle will be sort of like what's insured. So you can see like general liability. And then on the right side, you will see the limits of sort of each of those different things that you can sort of customize to sort of have them insure. So like each occurrence or the general aggregate, which basically is, how much total they will sort of cover. So they will be responsible for like here, $2 million. And really this is something that's common with the city. I think the city requires that, the $2 million sort of coverage. So that's something that I have. And if you go below, there's going to be other things that you can have covered in the insurance, like automobile liability or like commercial automobile liability. One thing that is also sometimes mentioned to me to have is the workers' compensation. Because I work alone, I don't have a lot of assistance, especially on construction sites. I pretty much do it myself. I don't need workers' compensation in Colorado, but that's different for every state. So you're gonna have different things or different requirements for every state. But this is basically what this looks like. And then at the bottom, you have certificate holder right here. Basically, this is the client. This is the person that you're giving the certificate to. So if I'm doing work for company A information will be right here as the client or the certificate holder, and they'll know that I have, the proper sort of coverage whenever I do a project with them. So that's basically what a certificate of insurance looks like. And if you're starting to think about insurance because of the projects that you're getting require insurance, especially if you're installing things, definitely go out there and search. It's easy to go online and do it. I think Progressive will definitely pop up, but also a company called Next will also pop up, Next Insurance, and that is one that I send people mainly because it's super easy to sort of like find out quotes. And with getting quotes from insurance companies, they will ask you a ton of questions about your practice or about the type of work you do and the frequency, and things like, do you paint, do you sort of use your car, do you go up really high, do you do all these different things, and it basically just assesses the level of risk when it comes to your practice, because every artist is going to have a different level of risk that they take on. And for me, I pay about $500 a year, my annual premium for my insurance. I just added mobile equipment insurance, so it protects me and other people from the the large scale equipment that I use. So I also tacked that on, so I pay just a little bit more now. So you're basically looking between $200 and $500 for the standard insurance annually. So when you're doing projects, just think about adding that in for the year. So if you're doing a project and you say, hey, this requires general liability insurance, just tack that on to the budget so that now you have it for a calendar year. And one of the things that I've learned is that when you have insurance, you don't want to drop it and sort of try to get it back next time you do a project, mainly because I believe it costs more. The premiums are higher when you drop it and try to get back, and you drop it and try to get back. So once you have it, you really just want to keep it. And with the standard insurance, it's not as costly when you're doing these larger projects that require general liability insurance. And every practice is going to be different. So if you want to add on the commercial auto or workers' compensation because you have people working for you, you can absolutely do that. Your quote is going to be a little bit higher, but figure out, is the project worth, adding that on, because when you have it, you basically want to keep it. And I wanted to make sure that I read off some of the things that, the general liability does not cover. And one of the things is willful ignorance. So if you're just, dicking around and basically you're just being negligent, it doesn't cover that. Damage to your own equipment. So I use sprayers. If my own sprayer gets damaged on a project, it will not cover that. That's like property insurance that you want to have. It doesn't cover employee injury. So if someone that's working for you, an employee gets injured, it doesn't cover that. It doesn't cover vehicles. So that's what I said. The commercial auto, you want to make sure you tack that on. And it doesn't cover professional errors. So if you paint the building the wrong color, you're not going to get covered, with the supplies to paint it back the way the client wants, type of thing. So it doesn't cover that. So these are some of the things that it does not cover. So hopefully that helped out a little bit. I didn't want to get too far into the weeds because I know it is insurance. It is sort of like a dry subject, a very heady subject that is, very particular to each of our practice, because each practice is going to be different. But as you grow as an artist and start working with more entities and companies and establishments and institutions and these cities and governments, you're going to be asked to have a certain amount of insurance. And sometimes you can waive the insurance. Sometimes I have the sort of, sometimes they ask me to have workers' compensation or the commercial auto insurance, and I explain the situation and what I'm doing for that project and that I don't need it. So sometimes you can have things waived for you. So one of the best ways to figure out exactly what type of insurance you need, ask another artist. That's basically, how I got my insurance, and who I sort of went with was that I asked someone and they told me a local company that they have, and I went to that local company, and that's how I got my sort of insurance and sort of like exactly what I needed. So you can ask someone in your local area what type of insurance they have and who they go to, so that it's easier to sort of filter through, this large world of insurance. So that will help you sort of figure out exactly what you need. Asking someone else that's in a similar sort of position as you and is another artist and what they have, that will help you sort of guide what you need. So hopefully this video helped out. It's a dry subject, but we want to make sure that we protect ourselves whenever we're sort of doing our projects. So look it up, ask a friend, and go from there. Peace.